here today on RealAgriculture.com for the beef market update with Ann Dunford from the Gateway Livestock Exchange. Welcome today, Ann.
Hi, Sean.
And we're getting to the middle of September. We're getting closer to the end of the yearling run. What is really the story to this point?
Well, very interesting. We've had prices start off what I thought were fairly strong early in August, and they've actually continued to march higher as we speak. Today's prices have taken a bit of a breather, but by the end of last week we saw basically week over same week a year ago, these yearling prices about $10 a hundred higher than last year, and the early calf prices, again comparing same week in September to same week in 2009, about $15 a hundred higher. So there's no question feeder market has started off strong as we expected, and I guess in my opinion maybe got a little higher than I expected.
Are you surprised a little bit by also the length of how, like, we one time, I guess about a month ago, we had talked about it kind of maybe trailing off as we got a couple weeks into it, but it's held strong, and as you said, got firmer.
Yeah, it's got very strong actually, and if you go back and look at pricing seasonality, usually you get your highs in the yearling market very early in August. So this one's been a bit of a contra-seasonal. It's moved higher a little bit through the run. Again, lots to talk about the tighter supplies out there. I think you and I have talked about the numbers that came out of StatsCan as of July 1, and when we put the ball of wax together with the cattle on feed numbers, feeder cattle and calf supply outside of feedlots on July 1 this summer was down anywhere from 7 to 9%. So that's kind of out there supporting this whole feeder market as we head right in now into the calf run.
So as we look into that calf run, what are some of the concerns, or what is the feeder sort of looking at here?
Well, I wish I knew, Sean. There's so many unknowns, and we talk about those things when we do these reportings every couple of weeks. But again, the domination by the unknowns is a big factor. Today, $2 to $2.50 down in the U.S. live cattle futures market. Outside sources, yes, but the bottom line is lower. We've got a Bank of Canada interest rate announcement out tomorrow, and again, the kind of the feeling or the trade guess is 60% in favor of probably a 25% interest rate increase tomorrow. We'll see what happens. What are the impacts today? Lots of talk about problems again in Greece and Europe in regards to the economic recovery and some of the financial stability over there. And again, does that cause problems to exchange rates? And then closer to home, just we continue to get data out of the US that isn't exactly what you'd call favorable from an economic perspective. Their jobs report last week was a little bit better, but still we've got restaurant data that's not showing us big recovery, big traffic returns, those kinds of things. So again, we'll be viewing all these as we go through the rest of the fall run. But what's a guy to do if you're a cattle feeder? You're dealing with a lot of unknowns. If you're a cow-calf operator, do you keep the heifer? Do you ship her to town? Lots of unknowns. And
I guess let's go to that last question. So we realize that the feeder, he's dealing with some tight margins, pretty high breaks, historically, so he's got his challenges. The cow-calf, you mentioned about does he hold back? Why is that such a unique challenge this year?
Well, again, you've got, I think, first of all, we've seen what looks like it's going to be a significant improvement in calf price this fall. So now we're faced with, we've got steer and heifer calf prices probably considerably higher than last year. Do you continue to send those heifers to town as we have been for the last several years? We continue to market them as feeder cattle? Or are we starting to now in this cattle cycle need to look forward over the next 8 to 10 years and say, is that heifer better off in my herd now and her most productive years in my herd? So, and I think everybody will have an individual opinion or circumstance around that. Their age, where they're located, their feed situation, if they've got help coming back home, those kinds of things. So there's a lot of factors that are going to help make that decision.
As we look back at the calf run and the prices that they have got though on the ranch, has it been a success so far though?
In recent years?
Yeah, no, actually, sorry, I said calves, I meant yearlings. When we look at the yearlings that have been sold so far this season, would they consider, has it been financially a good season?
For the grass operator on a whole, I would suggest this was a profitable season, correct, yes.
Okay. So we talked about the ranch, we talked about feed yards. What about the packer? How is this season shaping up?
Well, hard to say. I mean, again, there's a margin operator, true and true. And as cattle costs go up, and they have been here, as we talked all through August, prices of fat cattle have gone higher. his job then is to go out and get that, or the beef salesman job is to go out and get that beef sold higher. And so then that's when we start looking at this restaurant data and start to wonder how easy is it going to be to get beef sold higher if this economy is not taking off like many had thought we were going to do. So it all comes back to at the end of the day, the consumer is going to have to pay the price, and then they're going to have to buy the product in order for it all to work right back through the system.
So in the last month, it's been an interesting time for packers buying feeder cattle. They've been pretty easy to buy up pretty quick.
Packers buying
fat cattle.
Thank
sorry,
you. Okay, yeah.
It's been pretty easy. How do we see that supply changing over the next month?
Well, packers do have inventory around them here in Western Canada, so it's not like they're going to be looking for inventory next week. I guess as we get into the fourth quarter historically, so October, as we get into the fourth quarter, that's a time frame that historically gets tighter. So we'll see what that brings at that point in time.
So what can we expect maybe and possibly in terms of basis changes? Do we expect to stay kind of at this level, or is there a chance we may get a little bit slimmer?
We've widened out here as we've come into September. Unfortunately, that's very seasonally normal that we widen basis into September. On the flip side, and I made this comment last week, I think when we talked, is basis normally moves from a wide level here in September to a significantly narrower number by November and December, as much as $6 to $8 a hundred. So is that a possibility here in the fall of 2010? I'm going to say absolutely.
Okay, Ann, thanks a lot, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks.